So today I'm just going to do a fairly short one, but I wanted to show you some stuff. So I've just done some quick level slap together to kind of give you an idea of what my new tiles are all about. And I want to show you how to put an animation in like a waterfall, so an animated screen. So basically what I've done is I'm just going to switch over here right away into the engine. And I'll show you where I left off. 1 second here. And we'll just switch over to screen capture. And so what I did here, I'll just hit run real quick here. So I showed you last time I was in, I kind of showed you the sand gravel and some of these terrains. If you haven't seen that video, basically these grasses are my new isometric terrain set that I've been making. I also made this tree and the toji gates and stuff here. I made the sand and corrugated rock here at the base of the cliff to give it some of that erosion look. That's my sea foam and my ocean texture there. But I'm going to just zip over this way real quick. Here's where it transitions into some of the grass and stuff that I painted down. There's one of my toji gates, which we'll just go up through the toji gate here. And there's one of my Asian forest terrains that I've made. And you can see how well that blends. There's another different forest terrain here and how that blends in too. So RGP Tools, I'm just going to pull up a folder here. And we're just going to go here into, oh, sorry. We're going to go into there we go. Okay, so each of these tiles, there's the sand that I made. There's that Asian forest I showed you. There's that other forest. Another forest with a little darker ground. Another forest more for like redwoods or giant cedar forest where the canopy is big and you're in the deep forest and you don't have much undergrowth. Another one of those type. I've just tried to add quite a bit of variety. I've added like five forest tiles. I've only added one beach tile so far. I'm going to do a few more beach tiles, but right now one was all I needed to get started on this game. Then there's the grass, and they all kind of blend. Now, none of these tiles blend absolutely perfect, and I'm going to show you that in the engine here. I'm going to do a little bit of painting. I've got one level going where I just keep painting and just trying out the new tiles as I make them and see how they blend with the other tiles and such. So it's basically just a work in progress. So there's the generic grass. Now it does tile pretty good. Some of these tile really well. Some of them have a little bit where they got some little areas where they match, so they're not perfectly seamless. But RGP Tools doesn't need to be seamless. Like in Godot, you need your edges to butt up against each other perfectly. In other tile based, you don't have what I like to call a tile blend feature. And what Martin, the developer, has done here is it's quite good. Now, it could be better. I don't actually know how you would improve it, but it could be a little smoother maybe, just the blend. There's some areas where it doesn't really paint, or you got to cover 2 squares to paint, or there's something up there where it just doesn't quite do a. But like 90%, it works awesome. And for the amount that it doesn't, I mean, if you're painting natural terrains and grounds and rocks and beaches and forests and stuff, who cares? You just add a little bit here or there. Or if you got a little area you need to cover up, you put a brush or a rock or a tree over it from your background layer or your object layer. That being said, we'll keep going here. So there's one with some little shrubs and some variety. There's a brown dirt texture. Now it's not like that aggregate crush, but it is like a big gravel. It's like a 2.5, 3 inch grade gravel sort of thing. And there's another gray version of it. Now this version here, this is actually just Martin's, not Martin's, Martin packages it comes with it, but it's one of Jesse's from PV Games. It was a brown ground terrain texture, and I just desaturated it and put it in here so that I have a exact same one but in gray instead of brown, and the two work nicely together, blending between, which I'll show you in the engine. A gray rock with a crush, and you can see why I need those other two gray now. Another one, another gray with a finer kind of a sand, like a wash away sand sort of thing, and then it's got some rocks sticking up and a couple little brushes and stuff. Here's some like sort of tundra-y brushes, or high mountain, like mountain plateau-y type. Again, finer crush with some rocks jagging out. Another variety of that with a little sharper rocks, less eroded off, and again the same type of I guess you'd call it like an alpine shrub or whatever in there. And then here, kind of like a flattened out shale or granite plate, maybe, rather than a basalt type. Like this type of rock in here is kind of a basalty type. This type here is more of a granite-y type. And then some finer aggregate with some of the finer silt mixed in, and a little bit of just a good mix plate, right? Just a good mix tile. And then this is actually a good example. Actually, I'll show you on this one here, where I've tried to make the edges pretty seamless, but you do get a bit of a border on those because there's an obvious spot where the tile's going to repeat itself, or the next tile's going to start. So you do have some blend area where the where you've got a little bit of a dead zone. So I've tried to make that as natural as I can, but it's obviously not perfect. But with the RGB blend tools, you don't need it to be necessarily perfect. Then I went into a grass transition from the forest green. So from this kind of foresty green, or this foresty green, I've kind of gone into this deeper kind of grass transition to a darker green. Then I've also got a light one to come in from the grasses. So you're coming in from the grasses, and then you got a lighter green to transition into the snow. Then I got a couple more snow made. I've probably got a couple more to make. So this one's got some gravel on it and some light gravel. This one's got, like I say, the green with a little bit of gravel. And this one's got some rocks and some sticks sticking up, etc. Just to add some character. And then, of course, there's also Jesse's to work well in conjunction. I've tested these out, but they work well in conjunction is Jesse's his base ground text. So he's got his Norse snow ground, his grassy green transition ground, his brown soils, his gray soils. He's got a few. So he used them all in conjunction with the ones that Jesse made over at PV Games. And some have been bundled with the RGP tools. Some of them you buy as extra asset packs. Whatever, they all kind of will work well together. And then lastly, I got the first of my swamps made here. Second to last, I've got that tan dirt, which is that kind of that corrugate dirt crush that I showed you in the. It's actually on the screen behind us here, right there. That's the corrugate dirt. That's what this is, because I needed something for the erosion off of rock cliffs. I'll probably make one of these also, a version of this where it's more desaturated and gray, just to add that corrugate gray at the base of the gray cliff. And there's the swamp. So with that being said, I can close this down. And what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to jump into the next level here. And what I've got going on is I've built out this little level, and we'll just take a quick little tour of it. And I haven't zoomed in or anything, but we've got the character here. Now I haven't played around with the offsets to get the waterfall working. It's not quite at the right level. But if you mess around with the offset levels, the character can actually go behind the waterfall because this is transparent. You can see the cliff behind it. And that animation, I'll show you how to set that up in a minute. So this is just water with the direction going on it, and then a little bit of sea foam at the top where it churns over the edge, sea foam at the bottom, and then water again as it runs down here. And then I just put this little campfire in here, which is also an animation, but it was a pre-existing one from the RGP Tools content pack. Paint a little bit of my beach down here and some of my other terrains to give it kind of this little beachy thing along the river. Then we come off into the grass here. We got some of that corrugated gravel. And then if I walk up here, I just mix the swamp and some grass, some foresty grass here to give us sort of this little bit of a swampy, foresty ground. if I go up top here all the way, I'll show you where I've just done some blending. Just I was experimenting and I wanted to show you how all the blends kind of work well together. Now they're not all perfect. I didn't plan them out. I just kind of went from one tile to another tile just to kind of show you the blends going. So here's how well they kind of blend into each other from the different types that we covered. So there's going from one forest type to another forest type, that forest type into some of the green snow, this forest type coming into some of the deeper green snow here. I got an accidental patch here or something. I think that's this that I didn't blend in. No biggie though. Then the forest green going into the grassy green, which then goes into the rocky snow again, which kind of goes into the mountain here, but I didn't bleed it in. I just kind of stopped painting there. I would have probably bled it into here, and then that would have kind of transitioned nicely into that rock again. And same down here. I didn't really do anything here. I just had some gravel I was playing around with yesterday, painting my gravel textures in. Same here. I just kind of did some splotching just to test stuff out, how this would blend into the rocks and stuff. I just did a quick little paint there for the different surfaces, so you can see it blends quite well. And then here's where I was talking about some transition lines. So this was I think this guy here was painted here. I graveled over top, but there's where the edge of that tile meets the edge of this tile. So you can see there are some areas where you'll definitely need to do a little bit of tweaking as you paint these down. You can see it goes quite well to the cliff face. I was playing around with that to see how that sand works well on the cliff there. Just painting these all down. Some of these, that's just a full tile. I didn't, I was just painting that down to see how it actually just looked fully painted. And then here's where I kind of painted out this little scene just to play around. Here again, I was just playing, transitioning. So from the green grass, I wanted to do a transition up into the snowy grass and then just into the desolate rock. So I was just playing around with that. I probably could have done a better job, but I was quickly just, like I say, just quickly painting down. This whole level painting down that I did tonight probably took me like 10 minutes or so. And it shows because you can see where my brush got away from me here for a second. But there's nothing really in there, so. Again, just some grass transitions into some brown gravel, which you could use as a road. I was just kind of laying out some forest area here and blending it into some grass. So that's forest blending into one of the grasses, blending into a different one of the grasses. And where those grasses meet, they blend pretty good. So just again, and then where that forest blends into the rock. And then I was just throwing some click splatters with the gray and the brown on here to kind of roughly facilitate a road. Just wandering through some badlands. Just for the fun of it. And then I'll just wander back up here. Across the river over to the campsite. And then I'll show you how you set up those animations. So there you go. There's the progress on the tiles. It's coming along quite nicely. But so for these animations, so what you do is you open up your folder. I'm just going to browse to my documents again. RGP TOOLS. Data. And where I've put it is I've put it in textures. You can put it just about anywhere you want. I don't think it really matters on where. I've just dropped it in my data set in my root of my textures. It's not a projectile. It's not really a particle, a spell, or a world map. I'll probably just create another folder here and call it, I don't know, call it like nature things or something. But anyway, here's what it looks like. So it's 4 by 1. So how you name it is you precursor it. You call it animation with a capital A, underscore, then how many frames long it is, times how many frames tall it is. So in this case, it's 4 long, 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's only 1 high, so you get a 4 by 1. Then underscore the name of the object, and then of course it's a PNG file. And then that shows up in the engine. So when I come here, I can place objects, and what I can do is I can go, instead of the tile layer, I want to choose the object layer, and then I'm in mode. Normally you're on add object mode, where all your stuff shows up. So I can come down here, and I can take my to navigate, and I can place it right there. Perfect. There we go. I've got my gate. Oh, I can see I got a little more cleanup to do. Got a couple little... When you put things down, it actually shows you in Engine how clean it is, and you can actually see here I've got a little bit of artifacting I didn't clean up that great in Krita, so I'm going to have to go back in and clean that up a little bit. But it's a great way to proof it when you... I don't know if you know, but like in most photo programs, you've got a grid in the background, and when you delete stuff, sometimes unless you change out your grid pattern to a distinctly different color, like if you leave it as white and gray, kind of if you're deleting stuff and you've got like a thin gray in there, sometimes you can miss a few pixels. So that's kind of what I got going on there. So let's go in and clean that up. But anyway, no big deal. It'll update next time the engine loads after I've cleaned it. But anyway, that's fine. Then what we can also do is I can put a tree in or something if I want to. But the idea behind here was to show you that in the mode, you change how you place things. So you've got add multiple objects, add sprites, add animations, add animated textures, add unit. I didn't see animated textures before. I'm gonna have to test that one out. I haven't tested that. I wonder if Martin maybe added that. I was chatting to him about it, and maybe he's added that in. So anyway, you click on add animation, then it's going to show anything that has the naming convention to be an animation. So in this case, we have the waterfall and the fire pit. But if we wanted something else, like say a lantern, if I want to put a lantern here, bang, 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 bang. There we go. Where'd it go? Oh, I think it's behind the bridge, maybe. Yeah, I think it's behind the bridge. Anyway, whatever. We don't need to put one there. It's not a problem. But anyway, so then this is where I did the waterfall. So now I'm going to select the waterfall. So you also have to come in here to select it. You can't select it out of object mode. You need to select it in this mode as well. But this is where you could change the opacity, the center of origin. You can play around with the offset for where your player cuts in and out of it, etc., etc. Just like you would on any object on the main level. And you can adjust. This is important here. You can adjust your animation frames. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come here, and I'm going to give you a demo of that. So right now I got it at 0.250 to kind of make it look how I want to make it look. But I'm going to slow that right down to 1. And it gives you a real-time update in frame. And you can see that's going pretty slow. Now if I go 0.02, look at that. Look at how quick that's going. Crazy fast, right? Yeah. But I want 0.25 because that seems to work fine. Yeah, it's not great, but I've only got 4 frames, and this is just a demo, so I just kind of whipped that up. I actually grabbed that from my Intersect game, and I just kind of dragged it right in and used it straight as a demo thing. So anyway, and then you could add some particle effects and things down here, particle effects up here for some water spray, and you know, you can get real fancy, whatever you want to do with it. But you could even do that in the animation itself if you want to. Like, there's all sorts of things you could do. So I basically just wanted to dial up this little scene. So just to show you how my tiles are blending and how you can use them. They're not seamless. Oh, I will show you one thing. I'll show you how they're not. No, I won't show you, but basically there's areas where because they're not seamless, if you paint too much with them, you're going to find some areas where they don't meet properly. And then what you can do there, well, yeah, I will show you. I'm gonna just jump back over again for a second. So where they meet like that, I'm going to try and find a spot where they meet, where something meets, and I'll just give you a demo here. Here, we'll use this one because here's this corner where the swamp meets the gravel, meets the rock, and that needs to be blended. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to here, we're going to go back to the tile layer, and I need to blend that with something. So what am I going to blend that with? Well, I've got all sorts of things I could use to blend that in, but I think the safest thing is probably just pick a fine gray aggregate here and just do a little bit a little bit of painting to just kind of blend those together. Right, so I blended those together. Do another one here, maybe. There we go, a little bit of blending in there. So not perfect. You don't have pixel perfect control, but you can definitely blend stuff in. And then of course you can go to, you can also deal with those like where we'll go. There's another transition here, another harsh transition. Do I have a harsh transition somewhere? Running out of harsh transitions here. Why don't I just create one here? I'll just create one over here. What we're going to do is we're going to go like this, and we're going to go bang, and we're just going to come over all the way. There we go. Now we got this transition. So you can totally see. I didn't actually transition that all the way. Okay, you can totally see where this tile ends and this one starts. I mean, it's relatively seamless, but you can kind of see where it doesn't. So there are things you could do. So I would take maybe this bigger aggregate, and I would just do a little bit of a paint here. And then it's not so much. It's a little softer on the transition, right? Or you could do the finer aggregate, add a little bit of that. We'll do that down on this one. There you go. It's not perfect because it's kind of covering that rock a little bit, but it's not bad. But then up here, say you didn't want to use the aggregate and you wanted to just put something else on. So we'll just go from placing tiles. Oh, we're going to go from the tile layer to the background layer. And then instead of an animation on the background layer, I want to go to add an object. And then we're going to use something to cover that up. I don't know. We'll just grab these trees, these rocks. They're not finished, but you could just slap some rocks down. And then there, that's covered. Or slap these rocks down. There you go. That's covered. You got a bit of a rock wall going on there. What else do we do? I mean, obviously you put a house or something over it. But let's go... filter. Let's go. No, not rubble. Let's just go bush. Let's find a bush. Okay, let's find something. Sure. Break it up with that bush. Draw bush there. Kind of want more of a sagey colored bush than those, but I don't know what I got here. Sure, there's lots of stuff we could put in there. All the snow stuff, all the winter. I don't have a ton in here. I've just kind of got stock assets in here, so there's not a ton of different foliage going on, but you get the idea anyway. So yeah, here we'll take this bush down. How about this bush? Take this bush down here, and then where those blur marks are that we didn't care for, maybe like right on the cliff, maybe that doesn't blur so well, so we want to do something a little different, so we'll slap that in there. And then maybe on this side, slap that guy there. Anyway, you get an idea. So there's a lot of things you can do. I'll get carried away there. This has gone on long enough. So I will see you in the next one. Hopefully in this one you figured out how to set up an animation and you got a good look at how to use my tiles with the blend feature in the RGP Tools engine. So have a great day and I'll see you in the next one.